Joyce into the conversation. Hello, Joyce.
Hi.
Hi,
Good
thank you
evening.
so much for joining. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for having me as well.
Before you joined, we went over what International Women's Day means to you. So I'd just like you to take that part and then you give us your pledge. Some of the pledges we had, Evelyn pledges to serve. If you have pledged not to become a systemic version of what she's fighting. Kafu here, empower and encourage. That's what she's working on. What do you plan to do for women in this year 2022? And what does it mean to you?
Thank you very much, and a good evening to all your viewers watching wherever they are. So basically, we are all here to fight for women.
Yeah.
It's a Women's Day, and we are all happy to be celebrating today. And I believe all of us have done good jobs well to get to where we are at the moment. So basically, empowering women and also making sure that whatever that we have put in before us to do, we do and do them very well. Not just saying that I want to become the CEO, I want to become the managers of a company, but then if we are being given the position, we are supposed to do it and do it well, just as the men would do, so that the bias thing will be out of the system, like we always do. So basically empowering them and also making sure after they get what they want to do, they do it and do it diligently.
Thank you so much, Joyce. I am going to move into a very controversial topic that's been online in the last few days. There's been a lot of talk about a mom who was recently bereaved after she suddenly lost her 3-month-old baby after leaving the child at a crèche. So in the last 3 or 4 days, there's been a lot of talk about this online. It was a very sad story that was shared. That was her, she had a baby, 3-month-old, very healthy. She had to go back to work. So she took the baby to the crèche and they called her to come back for the baby. She gets back to the crèche and the baby had already passed. The teachers could not explain what had happened. So they still do not have an explanation. But when the story hit social media, there was a lot of conversation, a lot of attacks on the woman. I mean, you can just guess exactly the questions people are asking. What is a 3-month-old doing at a crèche? Why would you take a 3-month-old baby? Why do you have to go back to work so soon? It essentially became the woman's fault. But is it really the woman's fault? And is this not a normal thing? Because maternity leave is very short. And what happens after? There are some people, the standard you'd expect is 6 months. Most people give 3 months, after which, if you're taking extra, you're not going to be earning any money. And if you're someone who needs the money to take care of the child anyway, how are you going to stay at home and still be able to afford your upkeep and the child's upkeep? The next logical line is to what? Take the child to the crèche. There were arguments about, oh, why couldn't she take the child to her in-laws or to her parents or any relatives? But is it that easy for women? We'll go for a very short break, and when we come back, I'll be asking my panelists. Every year, hundreds of young people migrate from Ghana's northern regions to commercial cities like Accra and Kumasi. Most of them are girls and women who end up serving as head porters, popularly known as Kayaye.
We came here to work, but there is no money.
The main motivation for Kaye coming to Accra is money.
When it's raining, somebody is finding a place to go and hide himself.
Many are desperate and frustrated, but their move is a purely economic decision and cannot be rescinded without alternatives. They have dreams beyond village-level activities and believe bigger cities are the solution to their economic woes. Watch the full documentary showing this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. only on MX24 television. Welcome back to Spotlight. My name is Noam Falong. You're watching MX24 television. If you just joined us, this is a special Women's Day edition. I'm speaking to an all-women panel. We did some pledges. We spoke about what Women's Day means. And now we are back on this very important topic of childcare. So the story started on Twitter. A lady tweeted that her friend had dropped her 3-month-old healthy baby at her crèche, and she came back to pick his body. Nobody understands exactly what happened. The teachers at the crèche said they don't know what happened. All she needed was a place to keep her child so she could go to work. The crèche was about 2 minutes from her home. She left the baby, she went to work. She came back, the baby was not alive. She essentially came back for the body of the baby. Kafui.
That's really sad.
3-month-old
That's
baby.
extremely sad story. Even before this issue, or before, I've been making videos on like parenting. When I had a child, I never had a nanny for my child until she turned 3, and just because of this, I'm trying to check some of this kind of. I believe people are negligent with children. They can't speak, they can't express themselves. But as a mother, there's an instinct. So sometimes I encourage people to spend more time with their kids. Like when I had a child, everything else was on pause, was on hold. I had to.
But isn't that when you can afford it?
Exactly. I was going to come to that.
Yeah.
Yes, I can tell my story and then also
Yeah.
suggest what I think can work for other people as well.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, when I heard the story, I'm like, okay, well, where is the partner or the husband? Maybe she needs the money. Like, if there's no money, how can she feed the baby? How can she?
So you've heard the story?
Briefly. Yeah, briefly.
Okay.
So I really understand. We are different, and all that. It is just sad. That's why I'm even talking about negligence on parts of people. So I believe that we should, because of all these stories, I'm saying why I didn't work. You know, so I think we should make plans towards all this, and then we should also include the husbands or the parents, or both. I don't know her situation, whether she had a partner, whether both of them were not making any money at all. Whether I mean, motherhood is sacrifice. At a point, you have to sacrifice. Like I can't even imagine sending my child or daughter to school at 3 months. But if maybe the situation demands that you do that, if there's no other means, you know, and this is sad.
Very sad, because I mean, nobody would deliberate if she knew that would happen.
She wouldn't do.
Yeah, you know. But let me just look at the provisions in Ghana. Maternity Protection Convention 1952. It has a national legislation, provides 12 weeks paid maternity leave,
12
funded, yes, by the employer.
That's not enough.
And it's not enough at all. So although the majority of women do not receive this as they work in the informal sector, this is for the formal sector. So the informal sector, whole different terrain, whole different problems. It's impossible to know exactly how they will scale around these problems. But at 12 weeks, are you able to, what provisions are there for you? You know, you have to work, you have to earn a living. Let's even assume you don't have a partner to give the child to, or you just have a special case. And there are crèches that take children even 10 weeks. 10 weeks. Yes, because I remember there was an advert one time for a crèche talking about bringing, you know, fresh children. And I was wondering, does this happen? And obviously it does. I mean, if they are offering the service, then it means there are people taking the service. Ifya, let me come to you. Do you think maternity leave is too short to begin with? Maybe if we had better provision for maternity leave that was paid for, then this mother would not be forced to literally go and leave her child just so she can go work for a living.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. And when you were talking, I put out some points. You know, I talked about systems and policies. So sometimes these fights is not just an individual cause. We can sit in our homes and talk all the time and every day. It won't work. What we need to do is to probably petition the gender ministry, and say, look, this is what we need for International Women's Day 2030 or 20. We want this by the year 2030 or 2025.
Yeah.
We want 6 months maternity leave as Ghanaians, and the same
And it's been a
energy we are
conversation
using
for a while, but it's not happening.
the same energy we are using for other things, including the e-levy, we should use the same energy for that. So it's a system thing, and we need to. It's not just individual companies. I know some companies in Ghana and some multinationals are giving 5 months,
better, yeah.
but it's their policy. But we need to make it a national policy that 3 months is not enough. Also, we've started the paternity leave, so some companies are giving paternity leave.
Yeah.
And
my brother-in-law took
10
paternity
days,
leave.
5 days. Yes, 10 days, 5 days, 1 week. Nothing can happen. It's absolutely a no-no. What we can do is to extend the paternity leave as well. Maybe make it even 3 months, so that after 3 months, even if you are not extending the woman's side, if you extend the paternity leave after 3 months, the father can also, of course, if you have a partner or you have a husband, your husband can
Also
take care of the children. Personally, I also think that women should take charge and plan. So that's why I started with the system thing. I think that it's your body, it's your baby. You need to take individual, challenge and plan, because really nobody cares at this point. So before we even get to the space where the whole country can do that for us, you also have to take individual. I know it's difficult. Like Kafu did, she was able to stay home. I know it's difficult, but if you can, try
you have to make some sacrifices.
Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you, Fia. I like that systemic point there, because even if a few women are able to do it, or a few companies are able to say, we'll do better for our employees and give them more time, what about the general outlook? What is it in the books that is required? That is very important to set the tone for where the conversation goes. Evelyn, you're a nurse. How do you experience this?
It's a bit difficult and a bit challenging when especially midwives have to go around educating women about exclusive breastfeeding, breastfeeding your child for 6 months. And these same people will still have to come to work when it is not up to 6 months, because they have to work, because that is the leave they are entitled to. Some of them are just entitled to the 6 months. Some even have lesser, depending on how many leave you've exhausted earlier. So even in the health sector, the people that are even announcing this do not get enough for the babies. So I remember, I think somewhere early last year, an organization was pushing more if the maternity leave can be extended to 1 year, which I think it will be more to women, because women always have to sacrifice this. At times you will see women coming to work and they have to even tie their babies at the back with their uniform. And you look at a nurse who comes to work, your uniform is exposed to a whole lot of microorganisms. Then at the end of the day, you go and pick up your baby and you go into this baby. So it takes a we, the people that are announcing it or pushing for it, we still do suffer it, because your baby is still young and you still have to leave the baby behind and come to work, which at times it's so difficult.
I think, Evelyn, we're having issues with your network there, so we're just going to try to stabilize the connection.
You have the full concentration, you have this biting in.
Let me go to Amanda, and I'll come back to you as we work on that line. But you see some of the arguments against this, increasing maternity leave, maybe 6 months. I think 6 months makes sense. But when we stretch it to 1 year, the other side of the conversation is you scare the employers away from employing women, because they're looking at 1 year paid leave. how many employers will want to take on women when they know that they will have to financially commit to paying you while you're absent for 1 year? That's another angle that we have to look at critically. Maybe we get to a point where government is able to supplement that the payout from the employer, so the employer is not bearing the full burden. So it's a shared burden between government and the employer. Perhaps that will make sense. But let me come to Amanda. What do you make of the whole story, and what is your angle for maternity leave?
Okay, I mean, it's a sad one, knowing that you took a live baby to school and then you are being called to come and take a dead baby. It's really sad. But I would say we shouldn't be quick to judge, because I read a lot of people's comments and I feel we are too quick to judge, because we don't know the circumstances in which the person finds herself. Then that's why she's taking the child to school. Because this is a case whereby here in Ghana, majority of institutions just provide 3 months of leave. And then if after the 3 months you have extra days, maybe you are allowed to take it. Even there are some institutions where after the 3 months you go to take that extra days and then they start questioning you. You can't even take it. It's not that easy for everybody. If this person doesn't have any support system, no parents, or there's no husband, or there's no in-law, she has no choice. And maybe she feels, okay, it's safer for me to take the child to a crèche because there are regulatory bodies that would see it to them, other than maybe just getting a house help that doesn't have anybody in the house to take on the baby. And that doesn't have anybody to, have an eye on the house help. And if the house help maltreats my baby, what will I do? So she felt, okay, it's safe for me to rather take the child to a crèche because I don't have any support. And it's unfortunate that this thing happened. It's easy for us to say, okay, what will happen if you should just leave your job and attend to the baby? No mother would want to leave the baby after 3 months and go to work. No mother would want to. It's not an easy thing for us to leave our child after 3 months and want to go to work. Knowing our unemployment situation here in Ghana, we are the same people who will complain if we should leave the job after 3 months and then maybe the child is now 6, 1 year, you're looking for a job and you're not getting. The same people who are asking you should have left your job, we say, why did you leave your job?
That's another thing. You risk losing the job the longer you stay away.
Exactly. People are even going to ask you that, why did you even lose the job? You should have found a way out and still keep your job. So it's like, whatever you do, people will talk about it. But as Ifya said, sometimes you just have to see weigh the options and see what works for you. There are some people who have their parents with them, or their in-laws, or their husbands.
If you're lucky.
Or maybe we'll have their parents and then we'll just get a house help to come and take care of the baby. But everybody doesn't have it that way. And it's not easy. So when we find people in this circumstance, sometimes I say, so you find yourself in the same circumstance that the person found herself, and you're able to solve it better, maybe then you can speak. But so you get there, we shouldn't be quick to judge, because we don't have the whole story. It's not like the person has been interviewed and she said, I have a mother, I have this. And even when you even have in-laws or parents, how is the relationship like? Can she really take the child to the in-laws or the mother? Or can she even ask them if maybe they're also working parents? The parents are also working. They maybe also want to go to work. She can't easily say, okay, stay home and let me bring my child or your grandchild to you. So it's a very dicey situation. So I think when people are commenting, we should at least have some empathy when talking about such a situation, because no mother would want to leave their child after 3 months and go to work.
The comments are serious. You have even strangers fighting each other on these threads because one person is saying something and the other person feels it so terribly, but the judgment has been so heavy. I think the ideal situation for anyone who's had a child is to be able to be there, for the baby for even 1 year, but is it easy to do that if you're not able to, if you don't have the resource of fund? But it also goes into what Ifya said. You have to plan. You have to plan. Sometimes you want to, but you can't afford. I think having babies these days is a luxury.
To give another to break the system down, I think we need to also talk about HR in the companies. So I know some companies have daycare, so you have access to your baby in the company. So it's not only if you are in an organization, some of the things you need to fight for is not just your salary and increments and benefits. You need to also make sure that some of these things are provided for women, that they can have daycare in the company where they can take care of the children. You can have access to your child, I mean, just a few meters away from it, and then you can go and check the child out here.
I think I have a friend who works in a company where the company actually they split the cost. There's a small daycare because they have a lot of young mothers in the company. They are allowed to bring their children, leave them at the daycare. There's 2 ladies there who take care of the children. So what they do is the company pays half and they pay half. And it makes sense. I mean, because if you go and leave the child somewhere else, you're still incurring costs to take care of the child. So why not very close to you? Anyway, I mean, some companies are, you know, financially robust enough to be able to absorb the cost, but not all companies, again, here. And sometimes when you are a blue collar...
even if it's not the cost, you can at least provide the space. Provide the space. You know, and I want, you see, I always say that I want us to ask these questions when we are even being employed in a company, because these things are things that we need to look out for, not only the salaries we are getting.
And bring them up, discuss it. I mean, pull your HR in. If you're lucky, your HR totally understands what you're talking about, and then you can leverage and and argue your way through management. Joyce, let me come to you and see how you weigh in on this.
It's a sad story, but before I'll say anything on it,
Right, I think we're having issues with your internet also. So I'm just going to try that again. Joyce, can you hear me, please? Okay, we're having issues with her internet there. Hopefully I can come back to her shortly. But we're running out of time also, so I'm going to come around to all my ladies. To wrap it up for me, I'll give you a minute each. Let me come to you in studio, so put the icing on the cake for us.
Absolutely. I'm so much concerned about what Auntie Efia said, that you plan I'm so concerned about babies and children. And
in Africa, we don't plan like that.
Exactly. I know. But so until, and this may take some time. You have to send petitions in, fight it. It's going to take time. So until it's done, what are you doing to protect your own interest? You
can make your own plans.
Exactly. So I think that would go a long way to help.
Right. What do you want to see by next year? By the time we come back here next year talking about International Women's Day, what should have changed?
I wish that maybe we would have this maternity issue solved, because I'm a woman. It's very important to me, and a mother as well. So I just hope that maybe we can use this year to push that through. Maybe work towards it. See how far
6 months, 1 year. Which one is it for you?
6 months is fair. Like you said, 1 year may scare the employers away and all that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the paternity leave as well.
Yes, Kafu is advocating 6 months maternity leave minimum. And some paternity leave. If you're an HR and you're listening, you don't need your staff to take it up before you take it up. I mean, do it for them. Take one for the team. Efia, sum it up.
Okay, so I mean, using the case study we just talked about, apart from the maternity leave extension and also paternity leave, I'm also interested in maybe Ghana Health Service, going into these crèches to look, or FD or whoever is in charge of these things, go and look at the environment, go and see if it's sanitary enough, go and see if the people are nurses or
qualified.
At least every crèche should have a nurse. At least every crèche that is going to be, because they are tiny little babies, they can't speak for themselves. These are some of the things that I think is low-hanging fruits. We can work with it. So Ghana Health Service should take up this and maybe because our health worker is here, she can also, take the information out there that at least every crèche should have a nurse in there. So because definitely we will still have people taking their babies to crèches, and we need to make sure that these children are kept safe in a very safe environment. Yes,
that's a very good point. It's probably something could have happened, and a simple first aid could have saved the child's life. But here we are discussing this very sadly. Evelyn, if you can hear me, your line was not too stable, but please sum it up for me in 1 minute. Okay, Evelyn, I think I'm still having issues with your line. So let me go to Amanda Akushi, who's still on the line. Please give me your summary of it and what you want to see by next year when we are doing Women's Day again.
Okay, next year, I would say as women, what I would say is we should believe in ourselves and we should stop limiting ourselves. We can do it. There's nothing too big for us that we cannot accomplish. Just tell yourself you can, and I believe you can. So by next year, we'll have a lot of women celebrating their achievements in positions. As Ifya said, we'll find a lot of women in the C-level positions as well.
Thank you. So you at home, if you're watching, thank you so much for staying with us. You heard Amanda, believe in yourself. You can do it. From Evelyn, stand to serve yourself, serve others. Make sure you're giving off your best to the people around you, to the women around you, and you're living up to your pledges. From